Hello, welcome to the episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Monday, September 18th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. Hope everybody had a good weekend. It was a full weekend full of football, as you obviously had college football on Saturday and in the NFL yesterday. Jets fans waking up today, you are frustrated, you are disappointed, you are angry, you're upset, whatever you want to use to describe your feelings, it probably fits the criteria as the New York Jets fall 30-10 to the Dallas Cowboys on the road as they get absolutely crushed, lose by 20, and they fall to 1-1 on their season and lose their first road test of the year. If I can try and give you a silver lining or a positive aspect from this, at the end of the day, the New York Jets are 1-1. It's not like this is an 0-2 team staring 0-3 down. They're 1-1, and they have a home game next week against a really bad New England Patriots team. If you can find a way to win that, get to 2-1, you start to feel better. So as much as yesterday was frustrating, we'll get into it. Believe me, there's a lot of things that I've got to get into. There's a lot of things I want to get off my mind. And then we'll obviously get you ready and kind of shift more into week number 3, and we'll see what to expect there from New England as the New York Jets look to snap 14 straight losses to the Patriots this upcoming week on Sunday. When you also look at it, too, the New York Giants picked up a great win. Down 28-7. It looked bleak, was 20-0 rather at the half. It looked like they were on their way to, 30 minutes away to falling to 0-2 on the year, staring San Francisco down on a short week on the road, and they found a way to come back against Josh Dobbs and the Arizona Cardinals. Giants pick up a win, and look, no matter who the team is, whether it's the Cardinals or whether you just beat the Philadelphia Eagles on the road, winning a road game and coming back like that is extremely hard in the NFL. So got to give credit where credit's due there with the Giants. This whole, it's Josh Dobbs, it's the Cardinals, they stink. It's an NFL team. They found a way to win an NFL road game, and that's tough to do no matter who you are playing. So the Giants found a way to get the win there. So we'll get into all that. We'll break down some of the other games as well. It is a Football Monday. It is a Recap Monday show, and we'll also get you set up for a little Monday Night Football today, as we got 2 games tonight. Panthers and an AFC North battle in Pittsburgh between the Steelers and the Browns. So 2 good games there. A little Bryce Young action, a little NFC North or a little NFC South action, a little AFC North action. So 2 good games tonight, ABC and ESPN. So looking forward to watching those. Got a full night of football ahead. But we'll start here with the Jets. As the New York Jets go into Dallas yesterday and get crushed. There's no other way to put it. They lose 30-10. Fall to 1-1 on the year. The Cowboys improved to 2-0. And before we even get into this game, I mean, gosh, the Cowboys have crushed the New York football teams. Dallas obviously beat the Giants in week 1 40-0, and they beat the Jets this week 30-10. So you're looking at it, they outscored the Jets and the Giants through the first 2 weeks 70-10, a plus 60 point differential. The Cowboys look legit. They look dominant. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I will tell you this, if they continue to play at this high of a level, the Eagles better watch out. And I'm not even joking that. I mean, this is a Cowboys team that they've looked like the best team in the NFL through the first 2 weeks. And I'm not saying they're going to win Super Bowl, but I think we can all agree through the first 2 weeks of the season, they've looked like the best team from top down, from offense to defense to special teams, all over. They've been the most complete and best team on the field. And yesterday they beat the Jets, and they crushed the Jets, and they beat them up pretty good. And they beat them in all phases of the game, from offense to defense to coaching, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. The Cowboys beat the Jets by 20. And you kind of look back at the game, and it felt like one of those games. Now, the Jets there for a while did have a chance in this game. You go back to the Sauce Gardner interception, or almost interception, I should say. If he picks that off and takes it back to the house for pick 6, or for a pick 6, it would have been 14-10. If the Jets find a way to capitalize, if Zach's arm doesn't get hit before the half and he's able to capitalize on that Garrett Wilson touchdown, you're going into halftime 18-14 as opposed to 18-10. All these different things. The penalties, the third downs. You can always play the what-if game. But I look at this. The bottom line is they lost. They weren't very competitive, especially in the second half. They completely died. They completely died out in the second half. Energy-wise, they came out flat on offense. You went into halftime. You had an opportunity in this game. You went into halftime down 8. It was 18-10. Zach Wilson just led a really nice drive down the field to kick a field goal. 18-10. You come out of the half with the ball, and you're like, all right, you're starting to feel good. You're like, okay, find a way to go down there and at least put up 3. At least get some points. Defense hopefully makes some halftime adjustments. They get back into the defense that we know they're capable of, and you can get right back into this game. And it didn't even happen. Jets come out in the second half. They're a disaster. They go 3 and out. I think they lost like 3-4 yards as well. I think on a run play to the left, which I don't know why Nathaniel Hackett was running plays to the left. And that's where I'll start coaching from a New York Jet. I mean, this was let's be honest here. When you lose 30-10, sure, there's always silver linings in every game. But when you lose 30-10, there's not much that goes right. And the coaching from Saleh to Jeff Ulbrich to Nathaniel Hackett, and specifically Hackett, was horrendous. I mean, I'm sitting there watching that game yesterday, and I'm questioning if the New York Jets even watched a single second of film on the Dallas Cowboys. If they even spent a single second preparing for this game, because they went into a road game. And I get road games, really good defense, really good team, backup quarterback. I get it's tough. But the least this team could have did was make it competitive. They didn't even show up. The defense didn't even show up. Sure, you want to say the offense or Zach Wilson for 3 quarters was good? Fine, I agree with that. But the defense from the start to the finish, the Cowboys took the ball, they won the toss, they took the ball, and they marched right down the field. And they scored. And that's the last thing you want. Is your backup quarterback, Zach Wilson, on the road to take the field already down by a touchdown. But that's what happened. And you kind of had that feeling right then and there when you saw the defense just down the field, up and down, third down, conversion. CeeDee Lamb wide open, soft zones all over CeeDee Lamb. I don't know why the New York Jets didn't make adjustments. They didn't do anything. And my point to the coaching is, the 2 best players on the Cowboys yesterday, the Jets had no answers for. Like, did they even prepare for CeeDee Lamb? Did they even prepare for Micah Parsons? And look, guys, and I said this yesterday in my post-game show, guys like Micah Parsons, those aren't guys that I think you can stop. Like, you can't stop those guys completely, take them out of the game. You just can't. They're too good. But you can contain them. You can find a way to limit them. The Jets left 38-year-old Dwayne Brown, who missed the entirety of training camp, did not have a good week last week. They left him on an island. They left him on an island against one of the best pass rushers in football. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, what are they doing? Dwayne Brown got embarrassed yesterday, and so did Connor McGovern. Connor McGovern and Dwayne Brown, offensively and defensively, were probably the worst players on the field yesterday. They were the worst. It starts with the guys up front. How did Saleh not recognize that? How did Nathaniel Hackett not recognize that? You don't have to be a football genius. Enough of this, we got to go back and watch the film. You're watching your quarterback take hits every single play. Make an adjustment. You ran 13 personnel, 3 tight ends last week at times. Make an adjustment. Give him some tight end help. Leave a running back in the backfield. Do something. Help the guy out. I mean, he was awful yesterday. Micah Parsons was blowing right past them. Not only are you helping Dwayne Brown out, but you're helping Zach out. Got to give him some time in the pocket. And then CeeDee Lamb, every single third down, 10-yard completion to CeeDee Lamb, 15-yard completion for CeeDee Lamb. This defense yesterday could not get off the field on third down. And this was one of these games where if you look at the box score, it doesn't tell the whole story. Because I think when you look at the box score too, I thought Zach was better than what the box score shows. I'm not saying Zach was good. He wasn't good, but he wasn't, I don't think, terrible. I think he was I mean, he was a backup quarterback. That's kind of what you got from Zach yesterday for 3 quarters. It doesn't help when everybody else around him is not doing anything. But the Jets yesterday went 9 of 18 on third down. Now, the Cowboys went 9 of 18 on third down. Now, during the middle of this game, they were like 7 for 10 at one point. They were converting at a 70% rate at one point in this game. Now, late in the game, when they started to mail it in, I think they finished 1 of 6, but that was a lot of run plays, burning the clock out, weren't running their best plays. Like, that was kind of just a burning the clock out, finishing, like trying to juice the clock, finish the game. So those were kind of just missed third downs when they were mailing it in, but Other than that, I mean, for a while there, they were completing every third down. And again, these weren't third and shorts. These weren't third and fives, third and threes. The one was a third and 14. CeeDee Lamb was wide open. You got to make the adjustment. Put a man, they were playing these soft zones around him, and he was breaking them. He was wide open every play. I don't understand how they went into this game. This is, to me, coaching a lot of this. They went into this game so underprepared. They so underprepared. So underprepared. Had no answers for Micah Parsons, had no answers for CeeDee Lamb. I'm not saying you got to stop those two guys. Were Parsons a non-factor? We knew he was going to be a factor. But not at least putting a tight end to Dwayne. We said it all week. Tight end help to Dwayne Brown's side. Right? 13 personnel. Try and contain him. I didn't think CeeDee Lamb was going to be this much of a problem, but here we are. He had 143 yards yesterday and 11 catches. So they had no answers for him either. Pathetic. The defense, again, third down, couldn't get off the field. The penalties, look. I thought the one pass interference penalty, or not the pass interference. The one on Eccles, you wanted to. I mean, it was a pass interference, but the question really is if it was even a catchable ball. You want to make the argument it wasn't. You want to make the argument either way. It's a pass interference. He was clearly holding the guy. You got to be smarter. Whether the ball was catchable or not, the refs are going to throw the flag. It's just the way it is. We know this about the Jets. The refs are always against them. I'm not blaming the refs for this game, but you know this. You got to be smart. The two roughing the passers, look, it is what it is. I thought the JFM one was a lot more costly than the Clemens one, just because the Clemens one came later in the game when it was kind of out of hand. They were still in that game. Now, it only resulted in 3. The Jets did a good job of bending, not breaking during that. But, I mean, this is a game where you went into this game. You were like, run the ball. Zach be a game manager. Defense step up. We all thought hold the Cowboys to 17 to 20 points, and you put yourself in a position to win this game. And the Cowboys went into halftime, with 18 points and a converted 2-point conversion. Like, the defense was horrendous yesterday. It was horrendous. And again, the third down and longs, and they dominated the time of possession. They just dominated. They had 26 first downs. The Jets had 12. They ran 83 plays. The Jets only ran 46. This one, to me, I think shows it all. So, the Cowboys yesterday, time of possession, 42 minutes and 50 seconds. Jets had the ball for 17 minutes and 45 seconds. That, to me, tells the story of the game. Cowboys just dominated. Every drive defensively, the Jets, third down. CeeDee Lamb, wide open. Break the zone. Pollard, 5 yards. Dink and dunk, 6 yards. Deuce Vaughn, 6 yards. Oh, my God. They could not get off the field. Couldn't get off the field. Terrible. No other way to put it. The offensive line was brutal. I'd make a change right now. I would. I also think it's only fair to Dwayne Brown. He didn't have training camp. You bench him right now. Let him get a couple weeks of practice under his belt. And then maybe if things aren't still going well or if he feels ready to come back, throw him back out there. Maybe. But you got to be fair to him too. He barely did any he didn't participate in training camp, and you're throwing him out there to the Wolves. You're throwing him out there to Micah Parsons with no help. And McGovern was terrible. I mean, how much longer do we need to see McGovern play average at best until we finally see Joe Tippmann? You want to make a change? At tackle, you probably move AVT to left. Maybe you move Becton to left, but I think Becton's been fine at right. So if you want to move AVT to left and insert McGovern at guard, or maybe McGovern at guard and Tippmann at center, or Tippmann at guard and leave McGovern at center, maybe they want to do that. But I think somehow you've got to configure this offensive line, because look, the reality is this. And I could look at this from a positive standpoint. And the positive standpoint is you've got a winnable game next week at home. You've lost 14 straight to New England. They are not a good team. You should have beat them twice last year. There was no excuses for the Jets to lose both those games against New England last year. New England is a really bad team. They're not a good football team. We know this. You have a winnable game next week at home. Forget the Patriots for Bill Belichick. They stink. Like, I know it's hard to remove the history, and a lot of people are going into this game not feeling good because it is New England and they always find a way to win, and I get that. But try and remove that from your head for a second. and just look at this game from an outside standpoint. The Jets should win this game. There's no excuse for the Jets to lose a game to a terrible Patriots team. They are awful. They stink. And I don't want to hear, they played the two best teams in football. Give me a break. No. They've looked terrible, and they've lost 2 home games. And they've started slow in both those games. Get off to a fast start on Sunday and win at home and get to 2-1. Because I'll tell you this, as much as that's a positive, the negative to this if you lose Sunday, things are getting out of control. Because now you're going to have to start losing belief in Saleh. You're going to have guys that are going to start to turn on Zach. And the reality is, you're staring 1-5 before the bye right in the face. Because you got Kansas City coming to town after that. You probably don't win that game. You're then 1-3. Maybe you take care of business against Denver. Okay, 2-3. You probably lose to Philly. 2-4 going into the bye. You don't love your chances after that. You just don't. So they got to win next week. They've got to win next week. You cannot afford next week at home, New England again. They're better than New England. Even with Zach Wilson, this is a team that's better than New England. They should beat them. There's no excuse for them to keep losing to the Patriots every single year. Got to find a way to take care of business. Got to. Other stuff on offense. Breece Hall getting only 4 carries is a crime. I don't know what the Jets were thinking. Again, you want to put him on a pitch count? That's fine. 4 carries? Seriously? That's what we're doing here? 4 carries. We barely have seen McCole Harmon, which has been disappointing because I've talked about this a lot. Like, in these games where you're not getting a ton from your offense, gadget plays, jet sweep, trick plays, something to infuse a little bit of energy, something to get the defense to think a little bit. And they didn't even use Harmon. They didn't use him until garbage time. I think he finished with 17 snaps, but all those came in the fourth quarter during garbage time, when the game didn't matter. Garrett Wilson's unbelievable. I think out of all the guys on this team, I feel for Garrett Wilson the most. He is so talented. He is one of the best receivers in football. There's no doubt about it. Maybe from a league-wide standpoint, some people don't think that because, through 2 games, you haven't heard his name a ton, but you give this guy a quarterback, he is one of the best receivers of football. He is. There's no other way to put him. And you give this guy a legitimate quarterback, he's a top 5 receiver. So, it stinks because he had 8 targets yesterday, but some of the quality of the targets, that you could tell Zach was trying to get him the ball, but that one great touchdown for 68 yards, which was awesome. But it just, you feel for him too because he deserves so much better than this. And I don't want to sound super negative, but if the Jets go on to miss the playoffs this year and the quarterback is just a carousel all year, that's 2 years where you wasted of Garrett Wilson. Now he's entering year 3. Look, he's still super young. This isn't like he's in the prime, or this isn't like he's at the end of his career and he's got 1 or 2 good years left and these are them. No, he's just starting, but you just hate to waste years of guys this talented. I don't care if they're 20. I don't care if they're 35. You hate to waste talent. And I don't know if I want to call it wasting talent, but you hate to not utilize talent to its fullest. That's the best way to put it. They're not using Garrett Wilson to the fullest. It's just the way it is with the quarterback situation. He had the touchdown yesterday, and that's another thing too. The fact that he is still this good, the fact that he could still make plays with all of this going on offense, just shows you how talented he is. Look, to the quarterback, I don't think the coach put him in a good situation to succeed. I don't understand Hackett's thought process of running the ball to the left when that was your weakness to the line. That was the side of the line that Parsons was lining up most. To then, they ran the ball to the right twice. I think they averaged 6 yards per carry on those 2 runs. The left, they ran it, and they had averaged 2.5 yards per run. Dalvin Cook, I want to see Izzy. I would like to see Izzy active next week. Cook looks terrible. I'll be honest with you. He looks terrible. I was happy about the move at first. I didn't think it was a need, but I was for it, so I'm not going to sit here and say, I never wanted Cook because I wasn't that guy. I know a lot of Jets fans are doing that. I told you so right now, and look, that's fine. I was happy about Cook. I was. But, God, he looks terrible. He looks terrible. He looks slow, and the fumble yesterday, 2 weeks in, he does not look good. And that can change, but just doesn't look the same. Unfortunately, I think he might be, again, you always wonder, the Vikings got rid of him for a reason. You kind of had that, you kind of wondered, okay, why didn't they trade him? Why did they just flat out cut him? I know the contract and stuff had some stuff to do with it, but you wonder how many teams actually wanted him. Elliott's looked better than him. I'll be honest. He's looked better. And I don't even know really what Elliott's done, but I'm sure he's looked better. Cook has looked terrible through 2 games. I'll be honest. But the stuff with Zach, I mean, he played good for 3 quarters, and that was it. He had a touchdown, 3 picks, 170 yards, 12 for 27. QBR of 46, a rating of 38.1. He played good for 3 quarters. The final quarter was kind of airing it out. The first interception he threw, I looked back at the film, tried to figure out what he was doing. It looked like he had Carter in front of him, and I forget there was one other guy behind the corner. I don't know. He kind of threw it right to him. The second interception, he didn't realize there was safety help over top. There was a couple receivers open underneath, but he had his eyes on Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson beat Diggs, but he didn't recognize the safety over the top. If the safety wasn't over the top, then that would have been a perfect play, but he just didn't. And then the final thing was the final interception. I don't know what he was doing. Diggs just jumped the route. He was trying to get it to Carter, but Carter wasn't really that open. That was a bad pick. That was probably his worst one of the day, because the other ones you can kind of see what wrong. The final interception, there really wasn't much that went wrong. It was just like, what are you doing? That was kind of just one of those terrible decisions. The other 2 you can at least kind of tell, like the safety over the top. The other one, it just seemed like it was probably just a bad throw. And the final one, it was like, why do you even throw that ball? But he threw 3 interceptions. Either way, they didn't get the run game going. The offensive line was terrible. And I'll leave you with this. To grade Zach Wilson's performance yesterday, they didn't help him out. They didn't give him any help, and he wasn't the reason they lost. So whatever you want to take that as a Jet fan, whether you want to take that and be happy about it, or you want to take that and still be disappointed, I still think you got to bring in a veteran. Zach, he was fine through 3 quarters, and in the final quarter he struggled. But I'm not going to sit here and at the end of the day, he was still 12 for 27, so he's below 50%, and he still threw 3 interceptions. So no matter what way you spin it, the stats don't lie. They don't lie. Whether you throw all those interceptions in the 4th quarter or the 1st quarter. He did throw 3 picks. He was under 50% completion percentage, so the struggles were still there. But he wasn't the reason they lost. They didn't help him out much. If he has more time in the pocket, possibly if the lead's not as much of a blowout and he doesn't really kind of just try and play hero ball late, do the numbers look better? Who knows? Either way, Jets got crushed 30-10. You got to come out next week and win. You lose next week. I don't like to call games must-wins in week number 3, but this feels like a must-win. You lose this game, you're not going anywhere, because you got Kansas City coming to town after that. That's probably a loss. And you look at 1-3, you're just in a tough spot, because the Jets last year were 2-2. So if you can hover around that 2-2 mark, maybe a game above 500 again, like you can get into this bye week. I look at this. Look, the Jets have 4 games before the bye week. Easily, they should still be able to go 2-2. They got New England, and they got an 0-2 Broncos team at the moment. Now, when they face the Broncos, maybe they'll have a win at that point. But either way, they got 4 games coming up. New England and Denver should be a win. You can go into the bye week 3-3. I think you feel okay about it. You come out of the bye week, you get Giants, Chargers, Raiders. I know you're looking way ahead. Who knows what the team looks like at that standpoint or that point. Who knows what the quarterback situation is, if the Jets will stick with Zach. We'll see. Find a way to get to 3-3 by the bye. It starts next week with a very winnable game at home. You got to win that game at home. You can't keep losing to New England every single season. You just can't. You want to throw an excuse out there. You want to say, okay, really good team on the road. Great pass rusher, Micah Parsons. Home opener, team that just won, like one of the best teams in the league. Fine. On the road, it's great. Those excuses can't be made next week because you're playing up against an 0-2 team at home. Got to win. All right, so moving on here to the Giants. Not a whole lot to get into in the first half other than it was ugly for the Giants, but they turned it around. Second half had a massive, massive second half. And as I mentioned, I don't care, and I'll say this as well, whether it's the Cardinals, whether it's Josh Dobbs you're playing, or you're playing Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Whoever you're playing, whenever you can come back from that type of deficit in the NFL on the road, I don't care if you're, again, maybe that's a fan base that's rooting for losses. It doesn't matter. When you can come back from a road game like that, when you're looking at, in a big game like that too, because as much as on paper it was like, Giants, Cardinals, this isn't a big game. It was a big game for the Giants, because if the Giants lost that game, they're probably looking at 0-3. and then you have Seattle, and then you have Miami. There's a chance if the Giants didn't win that game yesterday, they could be staring at a 1-4, 0-5 start. And then they have the Bills. Like, they could seriously, the season seriously could have gone out of hand fast because they've got some really good teams coming up. Seattle just got a big road win over Detroit. Miami's 2-0. Buffalo got back on track yesterday with a win over Vegas. All those things. Commanders are 2-0, surprisingly. So those are the teams coming up on their schedule. Very rough early schedule. Yesterday was a game the Giants have to have. And you go into halftime as a Giant fan, and you're kind of questioning. I'll be honest. When I saw obviously watching the game on CBS, that's the way I followed. And obviously I watched the highlights and stuff to prepare for the show today. But seeing the ticker on the bottom of the screen, you see the Giants are down like 20. And I'm like, there's seriously concern if the Giants would have lost yesterday. You start to wonder, okay, where is this season going? Are we looking at a 5-6 win regression season? And then the Giants were able to come back, and I had a feeling they were going to come back because the Cardinals are just so bad. And again, I'm not trying to knock the Cardinals. This is more, the Giants deserve a lot of credit. I'm just saying the Cardinals are terrible. So I actually saw I thought the Giants had a chance of coming back, but down 20, no matter who you're playing, it's always tough to come back in that situation. They came out big third quarter. Saquon was big. He ended up getting hurt, but 17 carries, 63 yards, a touchdown. Daniel Jones also had a touchdown, and you got to give Daniel Jones a lot of credit. He stepped up in a big way in the second half. 26-37, 321 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick. I think there's actually a splits there from first half to second half. He had a quarterback rating of 79.1 and an overall rating of 103.5. You come away from that day, and that's why you pay Daniel Jones $40+ million. That's why, for games like that, to step up in the big moments. Jalen Hyatt obviously had the 2 big catches for 89 yards. The one really big catch for 58 yards, where you saw the speed, you saw the ability, you saw the talent there that he has for the future. And from a Cardinals perspective, I mean, they had this game. No matter how good or bad you are, blowing a 20-point lead is terrible in the NFL. I don't care if you're the best team in the league that just blew a 20-point lead. I don't care if you're the worst team in the league that's maybe predicted to blow a 20-point lead. Blowing a lead like that's always rough. And if you remember, too, the Giants, and you got to give a lot of credit to coaching. Maybe Dable took over it's possible Dable took over the play calling in the second half over Mike Kafka, because the first half offense, the Giants didn't score a touchdown until the third quarter. They were getting outscored 60-0 through the first 6 quarters of football. So I don't know how that all would have played out, but when the Giants scored in the second half, the Cardinals responded, and they made it 28-7. So when the Cardinals scored again, it was kind of like, okay, is this just going to be one of those games where now the Giants maybe get something going on offense, but the defense can't stop? And then obviously, fourth quarter, Giants put up 2 big touchdowns, have the game-winning field goal from Graham Gano. A good bounce-back week for Graham Gano after having the kick block last week, got hurt, missed a chip shot. So nice bounce-back week for him. Overall, good bounce-back week for the Giants. But it's an emotional victory. It's a great comeback victory. Now you got to hit the road to San Francisco. But I think if you're the Giants, if you're a Giants fan, you go into this game with a big weight lifted off your back. Because if you went into this game 0-2, there's, that's an issue. Because then you probably walk out 0-3. Let's just say you're staring at an 0-3 start. Things get ugly. Media, you start to have some legitimate concerns. But winning that game, going into this game 1-2, they kind of got the monkey off your back. And it was a really good win for the Giants, picking it up on the road, a game that they should have won. Again, I don't know if I want to label that as a must-win game, but it was a big win for the Giants. And now you hit the road to San Francisco, which isn't going to be easy. It's not going to be as at all. But going in 1-1 is a lot better than going in 0-2, fresh off a loss to Arizona. Especially if it was like a 35-10 blowout to a team that has no business being any good this year. All right, so we move on to the rest of the games this weekend. After a good start for the Raiders, Bills took care of business. Josh Allen had a good bounce-back week. Bills took care of business 38-10. They get to 1-1 on the season. 31-37, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns for Allen. So after a really rough week last week on primetime, he bounces back in a nice way. Ravens over the Bengals. So for the second year in a row, Bengals fall to 0-2. Although I would say this year is probably uglier than last year. And they've got a meeting against the Rams coming up. So that's, it's still a winnable game Monday night. Bengals got to get right. They cannot let this season spiral out of control. And I understand Burrow's been out for a while, and I believe they'll get things right because they're too talented to be this bad through 2 weeks of the season. But this is a team that's been non-existent on offense, and this still is a team that if they can't find a way to piece this thing together, it could get out of control. I'd be surprised if they go I don't think they're in for some major drop-off season. I think they'll find a way to turn it around. But as much as we sit here and say, 15 weeks left, every game means so much in the NFL. That's always the saying every year. 15 games left. And it's true, but you can't have that big mindset of, 15 games left. Like, once you get into that 0-3, 1-4 territory, it really becomes hard to even do anything realistic for the playoffs. So they got to get right. Chiefs over the Jaguars. This was a game that I think a lot of us thought would be this crazy fun shootout, good weather, Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, Mahomes, Kelsey's back, but it was a low-scoring slugfest. Kansas City, found a way to get the job done, 17-9. Titans over the Chargers. I think the Chargers are like the best 0-2 team because both games that they've lost, they could have easily won. They lost a shootout to Miami, and they lost the game in overtime to Tennessee. So even though they are 0-2, this is a team that should be able to bounce back against the Vikings. I think the Vikings have looked a lot worse in their 2 losses. Chargers is just, their defense has been very good, and it's just been some heartbreaking losses late. That's all it is. They've got the Vikings and Raiders coming up. 2 big games. I think you find a way to win those 2 games. Then you got the Cowboys after that. So a couple big games coming up. Try and get back to that 500 mark. Try and get back on track. The AFC right now is just wild because it's just crazy because the Bengals are 0-2, the Chiefs are 1-1 obviously, but the Chargers are 0-2. It's just a weird situation right now in the AFC. With Bengals, Chargers, Chiefs all not getting off to particularly great starts. Even yesterday in the win for Kansas City, they didn't look like the normal Kansas City. Packers take the L on the road to the Falcons. Falcons, 2-0. Desmond Ridder and company gets it done. The NFC South is wide open, and the Falcons seem to be the big team right now for the taking. Now, obviously, you got an in-division matchup today between Carolina and New Orleans, so that's a big one. If Carolina can come out on top, you have a 3-way tie for a 2-0 NFC South. But the NFC South is crazy. We went from talking about this being one of the weakest divisions in football to a division that potentially, if New Orleans wins today, by the end of today, could have 3 undefeated teams in it, like the NFC East. So, football season up to this point has been weird. I feel like we say this every year, but seeing the Bucs 2-0, did not expect that. Did not fully expect the Falcons to be 2-0. Did not expect the Chargers to be 0-2 and the Chiefs to be 1-1. Just haven't expected this. Really haven't. Seahawks over the Lions. They got the job done in overtime. Lions, loud crowd, packed house. Just an unfortunate defense did not do its job. So Detroit falls to 1-1, gets back down to earth a little bit. But from a Lions perspective, you do have a game next week against the Falcons back at home. A 2-0 team. Find a way to bounce back there. One division game, coming up in your next 3. As for the Colts-Texans, good win for the Colts. Richardson was out again, but man, Anthony Richardson's proving me wrong. He's proving me wrong. Colts get to 1-1. Texans fall to 0-2. C.J. Stroud, despite the shoulder, does play in that game, but the DeMeco Ryans, C.J. Stroud era is off to a little bit of a bumpy start. But Stroud, I thought, looked very good yesterday. 384 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did a lot. I mean, the running back room did nothing. 26 carries for 52 yards. Stroud played great yesterday, by far a lot better than he played against Baltimore. Bucks over the Bears. Justin Fields does not look good. Fields is regressing a lot. And the Bucks are 2-0. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 2-0 with Baker Mayfield and Todd Bowles, and they welcome a Philly team to town, 2-2-0, battling out next week on Monday night. If the Bucks find a way, I will buy into the Bucks if they beat Philly next week on Monday night. They find a way to do that, I'll hop on the Bucks train, and I'll start to believe. Because, man, 2 good wins. One came on the road. Anytime you win on the road in the NFL, it's hard. And the other came up against a Bears team that I predicted the Bucks to win this game, but I think a lot of people thought the Bears would be better this year, but they've been horrible. Niners over the Rams, 30-23. Commanders with a crazy win over the Broncos. That was the game that came on after the Jets game for a little bit. The crazy Hail Mary. For Russell Wilson, 35-33, goes for the 2-point. I think it was probably pass interference, but either way, Broncos fall to 0-2. I was talking to somebody yesterday about this. You really kind of wonder what path the Denver takes, because let's be honest, the Broncos aren't going anywhere this year. They're just not. They got a matchup next week against the Dolphins. That's probably going to be, on the road. That's going to be a train wreck. They started the season with 2 games at home, 2 very winnable, 2 games that were winnable. The Raiders are beatable and the Commanders are beatable. I know the Commanders are 2-0. I get it, but they're a beatable team. They're a beatable team, right? To have those 2 games at home and to not even be able to come away with 1 win and to lose the way they did, they lost by 1 to the Raiders and 2 to the Commanders. It's tough. It's tough for Denver. And now they got to go on the road to Miami. They're staring 0-3. They're staring at it. But my point is, the Russell Wilson contract's so huge. You're looking at probably another 5-6 win season this year. What do you even do? What do you even do this offseason? Because if Payne doesn't work, you have Russ's contract so big, you can't do anything. You're kind of handcuffed. It's a tough spot to be in for Denver. It is really turning out to be a disaster in Denver at Mile High. And Miami over New England. New England, after another slow start, found a way to make it interesting, but could not take care of business. All right, so tonight's game. So before I get to my picks for tonight, last week, very good week this week for my game picks. I went 11-3. So 8-8 last week, 11-3 this week. Obviously, I've got the 2 games tonight, the 2 Monday night games. So depending on how that goes, I could get as best as 13-3 this week. But going into tonight, I am 19-11 on my game picks this season up to this point 2 weeks in. So tonight, Panthers, Saints, first one. Panthers 0-1, Saints 1-0. The Saints are 3-point road favorites. The Panthers, Bryce Young's home opener, first game at home, are the home dogs. The over-under set for this game is at 39.5. Saints, 61.7% chance to win. Panthers, 38% chance to win, according to ESPN Analytics. I'll take New Orleans on the road. I'll take Derek Carr and the Saints over the rookie Bryce Young and the Panthers. I'll take the Saints, low scoring, 20-17. Saints just cover the 3. We'll take the under on the over-under of 39.5. Saints take down Carolina in game 1. Another game, 8:15 on ABC. First game's on ESPN. This game's on ABC. Back in Pittsburgh, Steelers, Browns. Steelers looking to get the bad taste of last week's demolishing of the Niners out of their mouth. The Browns coming off of a nice win against the Bengals to get to 1-0. Good old-fashioned AFC East or AFC North primetime battle. These are always a lot of fun to watch. Cleveland, 2-point favorites. Cleveland given a 58.9% chance to win. Steelers given a 40.8% chance to win. According to ESPN Analytics, over-under set at 39.5 as well. Expect a lower scoring game in this game. I think a little bit higher scoring than the Saints-Panthers, but I'll take Cleveland. 23-16 Cleveland wins, and they get to 0-2 on the season. Pittsburgh falls to 0-2. The Browns get the job done on the road. So got 2 home dogs tonight. Panthers are home dogs, and the Steelers are home dogs. And I'm taking the road favorites. I'll take the Saints, and I'll take the Browns tonight to win in the 2 games Monday night. Again, 7:15 ESPN, Saints-Panthers, 8:15 ABC, Browns-Steelers. And that'll do it for a Monday program here, a football Monday, a football recap Monday. We'll be back throughout the week here with more content. I believe video tomorrow, a little bit later on. Maybe another video, but there will be a video with a special guest on tomorrow, recapping Cowboys game, kind of looking ahead for the Jets and the Cowboys. And obviously we'll have some more guests on throughout the season, as I've been doing. So stay tuned for that. Really appreciate all the support. And, looking forward to continuing to provide a lot more content. As always, hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.